Hi guys, good morning.
Good morning.
We're off on a magical mystery tour now
Yes, we are.
when the bus gets here.
Yeah.
That's only one.
Yeah, I got one. There you go guys, ito yung aming bus, the Magical Mystery Tour. At ayan po ang mga pasahero. At kami ay magtutour kung saan nakatira si Beatles. Beatles talaga. Okay guys, see you later.
Wonderful driver today.
Morning, folks!
Good morning!
For the next 2 hours, or thereabouts, we're going to take you to the suburbs of Liverpool, show you some of the places made famous by the Beatles and other bands from the 1960s, including some of the birthplaces, the schools, the homes, maybe a bar or two if we get the chance, you never know. So the first port's called, obviously, the Albert Dock, Europe's largest collection of Grade 1 listed buildings, and of course situated right on the banks of the River Mersey. This river was made famous in 1964 by a film and song of the same title, Ferry Across the Mersey. Song performed by
Jerry and the Pacemaker.
Jerry and the Pacemakers, another band also managed by the Beatles' second manager, Brian Epstein. It was also on that river, Christmas Eve 1945, that Pete Best and his family arrived from India on a troop ship to set up home in Liverpool. Pete, of course, being the first of the full-time drummers with the Beatles. But also during the 1950s, Ringo Starr got himself a job working on the ferries as a barman. That was a job that was to last him only about a week. As you'll find out a little bit later, Ringo didn't like working for a living. Should have been a coach driver, I tell you. To the left-hand side, the M&S Bank Arena. The official opening was done January 2008 by Ringo Starr. Paul McCartney's also made a couple of appearances at the arena. November 2008. We're very lucky to host the MTV Europe Music Awards. Paul was in attendance to receive an award for being the ultimate legend in popular music, and it was Bono from U2 who presented Paul this award. He made a fantastic speech. Not only did he introduce Sir Paul McCartney as the man who invented this job, but then also explained to everyone that Paul had taken him out on a magical mystery tour in the afternoon in his car. Took him around Penny Lane, Strawberry Field, all the places we're going to see today. And he said it was quite surreal. It was like being in the Pope Mobile with the Pope driving. It really was quite strange having a Beatle tour from a Beatle. Now where the arena is, this whole site to the left here, the King's Dock, up until a few years ago this was just a big gravel car park. It did actually have a Beatle relevance anyway. Back in 1990, Paul McCartney was in a world tour, which he started off at the Maracana Stadium, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He wants to finish that world tour back home in Liverpool. Now being famous for our music, we didn't have a stadium big enough for Paul McCartney. So 3 weeks before the concert, he sent a team of people down here to build a makeshift arena on this wasteland. The night of the show, 100,000 people turned up. Paul got very nervous at the reception he was getting back home in Liverpool. It's an hour and a half late going on stage. When he made it to the stage, he made history. It was the first time ever Sgt. Pepper had been performed live on stage by a Beatle. He then sat at the piano, paid tribute to John Lennon with a medley of songs, finishing off with Give Peace a Chance. As you know, Give Peace a Chance normally lasts about 3.5 minutes. On that night, the crowd was singing that loud. After 3.5 minutes, Paul and the band got up and walked off stage. 7 minutes later, the crowd was still singing that loud. Paul and the band came back on stage and joined in with the crowd. Give Peace a Chance lasted over 15.5 minutes that night. So because the show was now an half late starting, and certain things carried on slightly longer than imagined, the show didn't finish until about 1 o'clock in the morning. Now again, that didn't bother the crowd, until they came onto the gates of King's Dock to find that the public transport had finished at 11:30. So you had 100,000 people trying to walk home that night. Only 1,000 taxis working in Liverpool. I myself remember walking home, all the way to Huyton, with my mother and father, 8.5 miles away. Oh, it didn't bother me at the time, I was only 9.
9?
Alright, 19. Paul also came back to finish a more recent world tour, and again it was on the King's Dock, 1st of June 2003, in front of a crowd of 35,000 people. But now we've got the new arena, which holds 10,600. So it's still not really an arena big enough for Paul McCartney. So last time we came to Liverpool to do a big show, 1st of June 2008, he had to play at Anfield, Liverpool's football ground again, in front of a crowd of 35,000. Paul has now performed at the arena 3 times now, most recently back in 2018, where he performed in front of a sellout crowd, 10,664 people, and played for just over 3 hours without a break, which is not bad at the age of 76. Backed by the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra and some of the biggest names from the world of opera. But to get revenge, Paul managed to track down the original choir master and invite him to the show. And the silly fella came. Straight after the gig, Paul went up to him and said, "You remember me?" He's just Paul, sir. Paul, I remember you. He said, "You wouldn't let me in the choir." He said, "You ain't good enough." Paul said, "I've done all right for yourself now, haven't I?" He said, "Yes, Paul, you've done very well for yourself. That's because I wouldn't let you in the choir." So even to this day, the choir master's still trying to hold the credit for making Paul so famous. But he was also in that cathedral 1981, and the people of Liverpool were given a this area we're now moving into, this is the Dingle. The Welsh streets of Liverpool. All the houses to the left were purpose-built for the Welsh labourers that came to work and live in the city. The whole area was due to be demolished. We had to campaign for 8 years, and luckily 2 years ago we won. So instead of knocking down 444 houses, they're now renovated and people started moving back in. This little side street just coming up on the left-hand side just here. This is Madryn Street. Now if we look down the left-hand side, the 5th house down on the left, number 9, Madryn Street, and it was there on the 7th of July 1940, Ringo Starr was born. He lived there for 4 years with his mother and father, Richard and Elsie, till they then separated. Ringo and his mother stayed in the house. His father moved out, he moved in with his parents. Not very far away, just down the street, number 59. About a year later, Elsie met a new man in her life, a man called Harry Graves from Brighton. Once the relationship was well underway, they decided to get themselves their own house. Like in this area so much, they didn't move very far. Just this little side street on the right, number 10, Abram Grove. When you look down this one, it's halfway down the right hand side, the white and pink house. On a Friday and Saturday evening, Harry and Elsie would come to this little pub on the corner, the Empress. Harry would play the piano, Elsie would sing. Her favourite song was a Doris Day wartime song called Sentimental Journey. When Ringo released his first solo album, he called the album Sentimental Journey as a tribute to his mother. The Empress pub was featured on the front cover of the album. Album released 27th of March 1917. When Ringo was 5 years old, he was given that terrible news. He had to start going to school. The school he attended on the left, St Silas C.V. School, also attended by another great Liverpool rock and roller, Mr Billy Fury. When Ringo left school, he left school with no qualifications. He'd never really spent that much time at school as a child because of illness. There's one time he was taken to hospital with pleurisy. While in hospital, the nurse noticed he had a knack for keeping rhythm while he was playing the tambourine on one of the wards. She told Harry. Harry decided to buy Ringo a drum kit for his 13th birthday. Ringo then taught himself to play the drums. When he eventually left school, he took an apprenticeship at an engineering company, and he lasted 3 weeks. He decided he didn't like getting his hands dirty. So he then took an apprenticeship as a carpenter. That lasted 2 weeks. He then took a job on the ferries, which lasted a week. So you can safely say Ringo didn't like working for a living. But he stuck with his music. He was in a local band called the Alan Caldwell Skiffle Group. He later changed the name to Rory Storm the Hurricanes. That's the first band he was playing with when he first went off to Hamburg, where he got to know the Beatles. It's also the band he was playing with when he developed his nickname. Rory Storm the Hurricanes, quite a flamboyant band. So to fit in, he decided to put a big gold ring on every finger. One day when he came home, his mum said to me, "Look more like a Ringo than a Richard." So he kept it, shortened the Starkey to Star. But as you know, Ringo wasn't the first drummer of the Beatles. In the early days, he used a different drummer at virtually every gig. After failing an audition to become Billy Fury's backing band, he often toured Scotland, supporting Johnny Gentle. The drummer for that tour was a guy called Tommy Moore. But on returning to Liverpool, Tommy immediately left the band. According to Alan Williams, who was the manager at the time, it's because he just couldn't get on with John Lennon. They had a complete clash of personalities, couldn't stand each other. So I say Tommy just left the band. It's a great Beatle. It literally just came down to personalities. Pete was never going to fit in the band. Such a quiet, unassuming kind of guy with a very dry sense of humour. He was never going to fit with the rock and roll lifestyle that the other guys were craving. Whereas Ringo came along, fitted them perfectly. Same personality, same sense of humour. But one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, they wanted Ringo in the band, is because they'd seen him in Hamburg and they'd seen how good he was with the girls.
Okay guys, we are going to Penny Lane.
It's right at the end of Penny Lane, and where the traditional sign for the road is.
Doon tayo.
Go over there.
Kotse. There's a car.
You're in charge. Hurry up, hurry up. Don't get run over.
Come on, Gerald.
Been everywhere.
Yeah.
Nigel, take a picture.
I can't do this.
Boy, kayo na. Oh, he's there. Oh,
Okay, ready?
someone is
Ready?
Say whiskey.
3, 2, 1. Put your hand down. I'll do.
Can we, one more? Can you do one more with us? Picture sila sa Penny Lane. Alam niyo na, once in a blue moon ka lang makapunta, kaya kailangan ng picture. And we are going back to our
I'm carrying this around.
bus.
Why am I carrying this around? If I leave it on the seat, I know where we're going.
Back to the bus.
Primary school attended by both John Lennon and George Harrison, although they never actually met at school. A couple of years separated them at school. John was in the same class as George's elder brother. The places mentioned in the song are not actually on Penny Lane. They're in this little area ahead of us. It's called Smith Down Place. But the song Smith Down Place, in my heart, never had the same ring to it. They cheated, extended Penny Lane by 50 yards. Ahead of us, what is now Sergeant Pepper's Bistro, middle of the roundabout, was formerly a bus and tram waiting shelter, where pretty nurses sold poppies from a tray. That is the reason the lads wrote about this area. Basically, this is where they had to meet to get the bus into the city. When John was at the Art College, and Paul and George lived Bill Institutes, both in the city centre, which is off to our left. Because they lived in the very south of the city, off to our right, they travelled from home on a bus to Smith Down Place, changed buses here, travelled from here to the city. So the song is written about what was going around them while waiting for a bus to school. Just behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout, you can see slightly to the right of it, green and white shop. Bernardo's, that was Albert Marion's photography studio. Albert Marion took the first professional publicity photos of the Beatles. As we move through these traffic lights, to the left, the first corner, the Penny Lane surgery. That was the bank on the corner, where the banker never wore a mac in the pouring rain. Very strange. And then on the left-hand side again, just as the road starts to bend, you've got Tony Slavin, ladies and gents hairstylists, which was formerly Bioletti's, the barber shop. Just to the left, just there. So I say the song is just written about what was going around them while waiting for a bus to school. Now George's father was also a bus driver. Just coming up on the left-hand side. Just there where the bar is and the supermarket's there behind it. That's where the bus depot was that George's father was based. But also coming up on the right, this next little side street, far too narrow for us to drive into. This one on the right is Newcastle Road. Number 9, Newcastle Road, was John Lennon's first home. When he was born, 9th of October 1940, he was immediately taken to number 9, Newcastle Road, which was his grandparents' house. He spent the first 4 years of his life living there, till being taken to live with his Aunt Mimi down in Woolton, on a house called Mendips on Menlove Avenue. That's the house we'll stop outside a bit later, give you a chance to see photos, because it is the house that's more synonymous with the upbringing of John Lennon.
Which one?
This is the house of George Harrison, number 12. Yes.
Yeah. Okay guys, number 12. George was born in the downstairs front room. If I say just get a photo, we'll get back to this. I'll talk about us moving. The neighbours have heard it all before.
That is George Harrison's house.
What do they expect? Would you expect when you buy a house next to George? Is it privately owned?
Hi George, how you doing? Faster, because a lot of people are wanting that. One.
O, ayan. Si Uncle, nasa bahay ni George Harrison. Picture daw kami. Habang nagbibideo naman.
Who's doing what?
Wait. Show the 12. That's the 12. That's his house, George Harrison.
Hurry up, for goodness sake.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
So you see the double-fronted White House to the left, just here, 197 Queen's Drive, the former home of the Epstein family. That is where Brian and John would have sat in the morning room, discussing the future of the Beatles. It's also where they had a cocktail party in the morning of Paul McCartney's 21st birthday, before going off to Auntie Chin's house in Hyde, where John Lennon then decided to beat up the cavern DJ Bob Wooler for saying that he was gay. John hit him with a garden spade. When Brian left school, he also left school with no qualifications. He'd never really fitted in at school through his own personal differences. When he left school, he didn't want to join the family business, the family-owned furniture shops in the North of England. Brian had no interest in falling into the family business. He eventually went off to London and joined RADA, the Royal Academy for Dramatic Arts. After a couple of months down there, he realised it wasn't for him. Came back to Liverpool and did start working with the family. According to his father, he was a born salesman. The family then bought a music store in Liverpool called NEMS, North End Music Stores. And because Brian was such a great salesman, they decided to run a larger music store in Liverpool city centre and make Brian the manager. That was on Whitechapel, just round the corner from the cavern. Brian prided himself on the fact that he had the largest music collection in the North of England. He also had a big sign in the window saying, if we haven't got it, we'll get it for you within 3 days. Guaranteed. In October 1961, people started asking for a song called My Bonnie. Brian had never heard of it, but he managed to track it down to a small record label out in Hamburg, and he ordered the minimum amount of copies he could get. He ordered 25 copies, sold out instantly. Again, he ordered the 25 copies, and again, it sold out. He starts asking round what all the fuss was about. It was explained to him although the record man in 1961, Brian and his assistant Alistair Taylor went round to the Cavern Club. When Brian walked in, he instantly fell in love with the 4 lads dressed in leather on stage. Straight after the gig, went up to rock and roll music. St Peter's Church, Walton. The church hall is actually on the opposite side of the road. It's a tall red brick building set back slightly with a red roof. You'll see it better as we get up there. It was actually the back of the church on the 6th of July 1957 that the Quarrymen were playing at a garden party. In the crowd watching that day, a young lad called Ivan Vaughan. He brought his mate from Speak, and I called Paul McCartney. When the band had finished an afternoon show and were setting up in the church hall for the evening performance, Ivan decided to take Paul in to meet the band. The first thing Paul McCartney said to John Lennon was, I noticed when you were playing the guitar you'd only use 4 strings. John said, yes, because Mum's been teaching him on a banjo and he has used 4 strings. Well, to the notice you also changed the words to some of the songs. John said, you ever don't know them, I make them up, it's more fun. Well, so I put the guitar as well. John said, go on and show me. Been a bit cocky because Paul was younger. First thing Paul did was pick up John's guitar and tune it. That impressed John because John couldn't tune a guitar. He used to pay people to do it for him. Paul then turned the guitar upside down, played it left-handed, played 20 Flight Rock, note perfect, sang it word perfect. So again, John was impressed. On the way home that night, John was walking home with his best friend from the age of 4, a lad called Pete Shotton, who was also on the Quarrymen. John said to Pete, what's the thing about McCartney fella? Pete said, he knows all the chords, he knows all the words, he can tune the guitar as well, so he'll save us some money. I think he's let him in a band. John said, right, if you're sure, next time you see him, you ask him. Somebody first found the gravestone and pointed it out to them. And it is just a coincidence, she's buried where they met for the first time. You can decide to believe him or not. He's never lied to me. We don't actually get to go into Strawberryfield on our tour, but I will tell you all about this project, and how you can come and visit it when you're back on a bus.
Nasa huli na tayo. Yung group natin huli na. Ha? Para let's do the last group. We'll be the last group. Oh, the road.
I'm not in the road.
Let's go this way. Dito na tayo. Group, dito. Kaya mo siya. Ay, ganun din yun eh. Kaya mo siya pa. Oh, dito.
Fast.
Yeah, being useless.
Bawa ba? Dikit doon.
Papayan mo tagigit.
Papayan mo sila tayo.
We're here.
No, I don't I'm just gonna pee on the wall.
You wash it off.
Kaya dito mag-selfie ka. Selfie ka. Nice.
You guys done? We're gonna get a group picture.
Can you see anything?
Yeah, there's a building just there.
Oh, just there, yeah.
Oh, like that.
You see it when they're on the bus.
Mr. Tour.
Couldn't get a picture of it on the bus. And here, the other guy took a picture. He's a lot taller than me.
Road out looking, was hit by a passing car, killed instantly. John came home that night to find a policeman waiting outside the house to take him down to Sefton General Hospital, where he found Julia had been pronounced dead on arrival. John had to identify his mother's body, actually killed by an off-duty policeman. But the house that John lived in with his Aunt Mimi in 1945 to 1963 is on the left-hand side just here. The blue plaque was unveiled on the 20th anniversary of John's death. And John's bedroom was the small one above the front door. Although the band came round to rehearse, they weren't allowed in the house because the guitar was only allowed inside the porch. That's because Mimi always said to John, the guitar's all very well and good, John, but you'll never make a living out of it. In 1965, John came back to visit Mimi. After fighting his way through the crowd of people who gathered outside, he found Mimi sitting in the kitchen crying. When he asked her what the problem was, she said, I can't put up with these crowds anymore. I want me peace and tranquility back. John said, don't worry, I'll take you on holiday. He took her to a place called Poole in Dorset. As they got to the cottage where they were staying, John showed Mimi inside, told her to have a look around while he brought luggage in. As she walked in the house, she found it was decorated beautifully. All the best furniture you get at the time. And
Huli na tayo magpapasola. Ha? Yung last group natin, bulit na tayo ah.
We are going to Paul McCartney's house.
Paul McCartney's last house. Who left home?
Yeah. Did you know, guys, that if you buy this house, it's gonna cost you arm and a leg because of the history of the house. So you better save up.
I think it's owned by the National Trust now.
Oh, is it National Trust now? So that means they can't sell it, and they can't. No one lives there. I think it's,
Yeah, it's got a
it's like a
caretaker.
yeah, caretaker. It's like a museum now, is it?
Yeah, it's got to be kept to how it was
Yeah.
when Paul was there.
Look, it's a beautiful garden here as well. Look at the purple flowers.
room again, a small one above the front door. The downstairs front room is where the Quarrymen and Beatles used to meet and rehearse. He wrote what is said to be around 100 songs in this house, including From Me to You, Parts of She Loves You, I saw her standing there, One After 909, I'll Follow the Sun, and even When I'm 64, which wasn't used till 3 years after Paul had left his house, written here. Great place, come and see if you get a chance. I'll tell you about that tour you can do when we're back on the bus, but it is by far the most important house in the history of rock and roll music. Unless anyone cares to argue.
No,
think so?
no.
On a minibus.
Oh, and then they could get in.
They take you
Oh,
on.
that's
take you on.
good. Oh, that's good. Where is Henry?
We are lucky, it's a nice day today. Kasi kahapon umulan siya.
The website